Welcome to Latitude 40, redesigning tourism on a small island. In the spirit of reconciliation, we acknowledge the traditional custodians of country throughout Australia and their connections to land, sea and community. We acknowledge the Palawa people of the Trawulawai Nation and recognise their continuing connection to the land, waters and culture of the islands. We pay our respect to their elders past and present and extend that respect to all Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples today. The first thing you'll notice on Flinders and the Furneaux group of islands is the breathtaking scenery. In every direction, what you see is like nothing else in the world. It's deeper than quiet beaches and coastlines, mountains and mist. These islands have a rich and dark history and an intensely passionate community that wants to reckon with its past and build the right future together. No one is here because it is the easiest place to live. Everyone is here because it's different. When something works on these islands, it tends to be small and special. As the rest of the world chases growth, we chase meaning. We have a complex relationship with change because we understand what it can bring. It's different here, and we make different invitations to visitors. For an unforgettable time on Flinders Island, learn to be one of us for a few days, a week, or the rest of your life. Slow down, listen, get lost, contribute. Don't try to change this place. Let this place change you.
I'm Debbie Clark.
And I'm Josie Major. We're honoured to be your hosts for this Latitude 40 series, sharing the stories of the Flinders Island community and the Island Away Regenerative Tourism Living Lab.
Hello, I'm Ben Backhaus. I produce essential oils on Flinders Island.
Could you start by telling us a bit about life on Flinders Island? What's unique about the island and why do you live there? What do you love about it?
There's a lot of variables in this question. I've thought about it, and it'll have to be obviously the island, and there's a lot of contributing factors with that, and it goes with an eclectic bunch of people, all with the same love for the island. It's got to be how scenic it is here as well. It's pretty untouched, and it is very, very much wild, and the wildlife as well. It's something that I haven't seen so much of before. I think there's no real natural predators here. We have wedge-tail eagles and that kind of thing, but just there's an immense native population of wildlife, whether that be the wallabies, lots of wombats, echidnas, blonde echidnas. We even have wild turkeys that go through all the farmlands and just roam around, if you will, free will. And generally people are eating these, but they're just getting around. There's lyrebirds, and as I said before, the bird life as well is intense. Just an array of birds, and to see large eagles or hawks flying around, it's really something to see. Plenty of snakes as well, but but again, it's very safe here, and it's really, when you go for a walk or a hike or whatever, you're bound to run into something and see an animal or see a wallaby, or get the chance to get up close and see some wildlife.
So tell us about your line of work. Tell us about bush pharmacy and what that's all about. And we'd also love to hear your origin story.
it's a little bit different. I guess that it plays in with the island and why people turn up here. My father once visited about 20-something years ago, and he really loved the place. And growing up, he always said that he was going to retire to Flinders Island. Us boys were like, where, who, why? And he just fell in love with the place. And I think a lot of people fall under the same trap. A lot of residents were tourists or visitors. And so he did that. He semi-retired and came to Flinders probably about 2013. He moved to the island to semi-retire. And our family business is the background in essential oils, mainly trading and exporting, and for about 25 years. So when he moved to the island, he saw that there was actually a potential to start an essential oil industry on the island, just with the abundance of native species that grow pure in wild form and undiluted. So there's a lot of opportunistic ones that the Flinders farmers have an ongoing war with. They're a lot of pioneering species. So as I said before, they'll take over if that makes sense. And there's this constant battle of plants encroaching into farmland and the farmer trying to take back, if that makes sense. So there was a whole lot of pushing up of these plants or scrub or slashing or poisoning. And my father saw an opportunity that, okay, let's take these plants and try and harvest and distill them and make a product. And so it really came from a place of him not being able to sit still and his entrepreneurial nature of seeing an opportunity and trying to take it somewhere. And there was a lot of trial and error to begin with. And it did come from a place of being resourceful from a waste product that really, it was open there and it was available. And also to create something for the island as well, other than having just the traditional farming. As other industries slowly die out in regional areas that we see everywhere, it really came from a place where we could actually do something for the island and put Flinders Island on the map for a product. And again, one of those points was having essential oils as a high value product, but a low volume. So that really helped with logistics of getting it off the island as well. So a lot of trial and error to get to this point and to become a viable business. And I'll always be grateful for Flinders Island community for them opening up the farm gate, if you will, and allowing those initial trials to happen. And I don't think that would happen anywhere else. It plays back to the island community and people encouraging or wanting to see people do well, or to see something different as well, and going, rightio, if we can help, we will help. So basically, that's how things started. So that's how I end up moving down here. I would come down to visit, and I would come with for 2 or 3 days, and it ended up always being a few extra weeks and whatnot. And the last time was about 6 weeks, and I just said, okay, let's have a go at this. I'll move down and get my hands dirty as well. So we still, so essentially we go into the wilds and we harvest plants and biomass, and we bring that back to the distillery close to White Mark, and we've got a facility there with a few boilers, and we cook the plants and produce essential oils. It's come from a place of being very small time and just seeing if it's a viable business to something that's actually contributing to the local economy, and we're trying to bring more people on and go forth. We're planting, taking wild harvested stock now and propagating that on our on-site hothouse and putting into plantation to further the industry and the products that we do. And as I said before, a lot of it is pioneering. Flinders Island is pretty much the forefront of native essential oil production in Tasmania. and creating a market for that too, which is really interesting and really good for the island as a whole. As I said, the having such a high value but low volume of product, the reach of that is, unfathomable. Some of our products end up all over the world, US, UK, all over Europe, in Asia. So it really has, a little bit of oil can go a long way.
What are some of the oils, like if there are listeners around the world, what are some of the oils that you're selling that they might want to get their hands on?
It's always a hard one when I get this question, because it's predominantly Australian natives, and as I said earlier, that a lot of it is experimental to a degree, or we're the very first to do some of these and creating a market for that. So I'll list them out. We do our main one is Kunzia ambigua. And this is the one that our main focus is in plantations. We do a Melaleuca ericofolia, which is similar to a lavender tea tree oil. We do a coastal tea tree oil, which, as far as I'm aware, that we're the only one in the country that do this. We also do a Leptospermum sciparium, which is the manuka plant. And on island, we have a different aroma, which is quite interesting. We do a smoky tea tree, and we do a Flinders Island blue gum, which again is a Flinders Island Tasmanian blue gum, which no one really has done before either. And I think being so isolated and with the land bridge and whatnot, we really have the purest form of these plants, and the strongest have survived with that gap. And plants haven't been able to hybridize. We've got our select plants of native species that are dominant here, and the best have survived, if that makes sense. So they've all taken their own little paths of aromas and context and things like that.
That's awesome. I love hearing about those unique particular aromas to your place. I think there's something quite poetic about that. It's very cool.
It is, to a degree. It's probably something to do with being so far south as well. A lot of native production of other oils are done where they've got grow season all year round. Part of bush pharmacy is still with our trading business that look after a lot of volume of oil for other farmers on the Australian mainland. And, they have tea tree that grows 2 meters tall within 12 months. Their winters only get down to 20 degrees, and that's cold for them. So they've got a growth cycle all year round. Where down here we do have that, obviously the definite seasons, and things do slow down, and potentially that may have something that has to do with the oil. And being on an island in the middle of nowhere, and a bit of salt spray and that kind of thing all plays its part. No one can really put the finger on why. But yeah, again, these genetical differences being, with that land break and all that would all play a part as well.
You can't manufacture the uniqueness.
No.
Special thing.
It is.
We want to ask you about sort of, I guess, looking forward and thinking about the future of the island and the community and perhaps the natural environment of the island as well, if you want to speak to that. But what does a thriving Flinders Island look like? What's your kind of vision for what Flinders could look like in the future?
That's a very, very good question. And I think there'll be a lot of conflicting perspectives on this. So I'll speak from my thoughts. I think we need a little bit more of a population. I see that tourism is a way to, obviously, that's how my father came here and me to a degree, and I know a lot of islanders have. So I understand that tourism plays a big part with exposing and and showcasing the island for people to want to move here. There is an issue with housing that needs to be addressed, and because a lot of people do want to move here or take the plunge, but they've got nowhere to live, and that is a bit of an issue. So I see that we're going to have to untie some of that red tape. I think a little bit of very appropriate, considered development could help with this, whether that's in other industry or trying to bring industry here, or even having people, a lot of people work from home these days and they can live in a place like this. We're all open to the internet now, and things are becoming more reliable. I see potentially, being a bit more self-sufficient to a degree. I think, having in two ways, being on island, you become very resourceful for what you've got. And there's a lot of people that have grown up on the island that are super resourceful, and, they save every little bit, and that will come in handy in the future and whatnot. And I really appreciate that. I think you see when you live here, your impact of what you use, because you can't get away from it. So if it's waste, or whether, it's, how much wood you use, or this or that, it starts to become obvious because you have to move it yourself as well. So, whether that's going to the tip and whatnot. So it's really measurable in that way. I'd love to see, that we're going back to that being a bit more self-sufficient. And maybe that's potentially I think there's conversations about food and whatnot, and having a bit more, green grocery items. There's a few that are doing market gardens, but they wouldn't be able to satisfy the population. So whether that gets streamlined to a degree, so that creates more jobs in that way, and less food miles and whatnot. There's some promising things. The abattoirs just opened up, so those guys are, we'll be able to have more on-island meat now, which we haven't had for a couple of years. So I see, obviously it all plays a part, I believe, with a little bit of industry and people doing things to create employment, because we need, more children at the school, for more teachers, and it all plays its part.
That's great hearing that from your perspective. Is just there is a need for more people and more industries and thoughtful development that can contribute to the community.
Absolutely. I think that comes from a place that, a thriving Flinders Island. It's people aren't against the tourism. I think it's people want the people that come to visit to appreciate the island as much as they do. And I feel that since being here, there is some sort of ownership with the people that live here to the island, and not in a selfish way, but in a respectful way as well, that, no one leaves their rubbish around. People want to see the island remain as it is. And that's why a lot of people live here, because they love those natural aspects. You can go to the beach and there's no one going to be there for a few kilometres. You have that isolation, you have that pureness. And I think that, that plays in a way of the place thriving as well, if people are considerate of this.
Sounds like you all take your responsibility of stewardship very seriously.
I think so. I wouldn't label it like that, but if you have to, I think so. I think you've nailed that. Yeah, I haven't really thought about it like that, but yeah, it is to a degree. Yes, yeah. I know. I do hear custodian of the land a lot in that kind of aspect. But yes.
So you've spoken a little bit already about the role that tourism can play in that. If you could say something to visitors, what would it be, and what role would you like them to play in this caretaking of your place?
As I said before about the just being respectful of place, of where you are, and take note of that. This is what it is. It is wild. It is remote. You're going to have some issues of not having the conveniences. But if that's what you want, you're probably in the wrong place. Really enjoy that for what it is as well. Is it really resonate with the isolation, and that you are a little person on a little speck in the middle of Bass Strait, in the middle of nowhere, and smell that ocean breeze, and really appreciate where you are and the reasons why a lot of the residents are here specifically for that as well.
Oh, that's just wonderful. I'm so happy we got to talk to you, because it's definitely a really valuable perspective for this story. So thanks for giving us the time.
You are very welcome. And as I said before, it's not. I don't like doing these things. I don't like talking. I'm not very social, but I see that there's a place. Obviously, anything to help the community. As I said, with my father starting the business and whatnot, and if this helps in any way to the community, I feel that I need to do these kind of things. They call up and to do interviews on ABC and this and that, and I always say yes, because I feel like I should be contributing something from Flinders Island for a bit of payback, if that makes sense. I think it helps us all to a degree, and anything I can do, I will say yes, even though
outside your comfort zone.
Yeah, that's the best way of putting it. I think you possibly would have heard from the other members or islanders that there is a bit of contention with development and whatnot, and I'm very cautious how to pitch that. Obviously, I don't want to see resorts here and whatnot. I think it needs to play as it is, but again, there needs to be considered developments, and also that help with industry, not just with tourism, but again, tourism is employs a few people on the island, and and it showcases the island, which then helps with giving a face for products like just in the last couple of years, us doing the essential oils here. Now we've got the actual whiskey distillery as well, and so it's really good. I find that from a place where I see that is important, because that will help other people move here to create something on island, which will all help us with more, buying power or whatnot, and give a face to the island and really tell the story of the island as well. That people don't have to come here; they can have a bit of Flinders Island in a product that leaves the island, which it helps retain. Adds to the community and the associated business around that community.
I think all people need to do is listen to one of you guys speak, and they'll want to come to because Debbie and I are completely convinced that we need to come.
I don't know. I'm not going to say that I'm well travelled, but I have been a few places. I've been lucky enough to have seen some nice places. My wife is actually Hungarian, so it's a weird contrast. Of I was born in Sydney. I've lived in Brisbane and Hobart. I did a lot of growing up there and a little bit of university there. I've also lived in the outback, and I did underground mining for 5 years, and I lived in Mount Isa. And I think that may have helped with the transition to moving to the island, that you can appreciate. There's no traffic and congestion, and you can have a hard day of work, but you can be on the beach with the dogs within 2 minutes of knocking off. So you get these you're able to reset all the time and take the values of the island and being isolated and just being able to go, wow, this is the reason that I live here. I'm not stuck in traffic. I can go fishing when I want, or when the weather permits. And you really get a sense of home. It was weird. I just recently went to Europe quickly for a quick business trip with our off-island business, sorry. And I just couldn't wait to get home. I went to, I'm in Hamburg in Germany and Barcelona and Paris. And all I wanted to do was just get back on the plane and come home. And it just felt so good just to smell that island air and get my feet on the ground. And it's funny, you really appreciate a place for what it is when you have something else to compare it to. And I'm really grateful, to have found, to live on the island, to be honest. Yeah, it is challenging to live here, but it's so rewarding as well.
Thank you for listening to Latitude 40, redesigning tourism on a small island. This podcast is part of the Island Away project, which is being undertaken on Flinders Island by Designing Tourism. The project is funded by the Tasmanian government.
We also acknowledge Designing Tourism partners Flinders Council, Visit Northern Tasmania and the Tourism Collab. The music is by Judy Jacques and the introduction, read by Yana Monone, is an extract from the Flinders Island brand story, The Island Away. This podcast has been hosted and produced by Good Awaits, Debbie Clark and Josie Major, with audio production by Clary Macklin.